Free throws, baby. They are critical. We saw that tonight, unfortunately, on the wrong end of it. The wrong end of it, because Texas A&M, they didn't miss them. Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and I just want to give a shout out to my brother right now, and all the people in the Starbucks in Huntsville, Alabama, who might be hearing me right now. He is dedicated, y'all. He is dedicated. He is traveling for business right now, and he's actually leaving Huntsville. So he stopped to at a Starbucks to do this. And I want you to look in the bottom right corner of his screen, and you see his external microphone. That is a Behringer XM 8500 microphone. That's the mics that we use. He is so dedicated. He brought his microphone, his XLR to USB cable, and the mic stand with him to the Starbucks. That is a MVP move right there. I love it.
And the light, because the lighting in the Starbucks is not conducive to this.
That makes it even better. I mean, that is dedication right there. Two big things happening today in Rocky Top. Unfortunately, BaseVols lose on the road at Texas A&M. Still missing Josiah, still missing Julian Phillips, and that's hence Rustin's name there. Unfortunately, we've said it all along. Typically, we're talking about Tennessee missing them, but they didn't really have an opportunity to shoot any free throws near the end of the game. That's a whole other story I guess we can talk about. But kudos to A&M. They didn't miss. Literally, they did not miss. Did they even miss? I know they didn't miss a free throw in the last 2.5 minutes. Did they miss a free throw at all in the last 10 minutes?
I don't know. They were 28. They were 28 for 34. The issue was they shot 20 more than we did.
Yeah.
And that goes back to offensive consistency, in a very weird way. If you look at the box score, we actually won almost every statistical category. But what's bizarre is they shot 20 more free throws than us because we kept playing windshield wiper offense, going back and forth across the floor, but not going toward the basket. And, turnovers pretty much canceled out. Shooting pretty much canceled out. We actually shot the ball better than they did. We out-rebounded them, but they shot 20 more free throws than us because they were attacking the basket.
Yep. A couple comments that have already come through that I think are apropos for what we're talking about here. This offense is so frustrating to watch without JJ and Phillips. Yeah, I agree totally, Elijah. It's different for sure because, and I'm going to put Tyler's comment up here too. Tyler said playing elite defense means nothing when your offense is so lackluster. Even the defense struggled at this point. Yeah, I mean, that's true. So here's my takeaway from tonight's game. In the last, essentially the whole game, but especially in the second half, it was very clear we had one offensive threat on the floor, and that was Santi. That was it. Kudos to Zakai for trying to become an offensive threat there at the end. The drive he made to bring it within 1 point. That was a beautiful drive over the dude. That was gorgeous. But the thing is, for almost the entire second half, there was one guy who was a legitimate threat offensively and that was just Santi. You can't win a game, especially against top 25 team, especially on the road, if the whole defense is keying on one guy. I mean, you can't win a game like that. I will say this as a kudos to Jemai Mashak. There was a play in the second half where, because we talked about this at the end of the last game, there was a play. They made a kick out pass to him for the three, and he took the shot. He missed it, but he took the shot. Hey, I'm cool with that, honestly, because there was like 4 minutes left in the game. But if he doesn't take that shot, then that's just further, ingraining the fact that they can just key on Santi because there is no other threat to shoot the ball. Like that, you're not going to get a more open shot than what Jemai took there. So I'm glad he took the shot. That makes the defense honor that in the future. But man, it was frustrating. Let's see what some of the other comments that are coming through here. Zach said, Elijah, thank God for baseball. That's all I can say. This is my favorite comment so far, though. Zach said, "Why?" He said, "Why do the things you love the most hurt you the most?" We're getting deep now. That's what I'm talking about. Zach's getting.
We don't have enough time to unpack that one.
Yeah, I love it. Zach also appreciates the fact that Rustin's dedication here, joining us from the Starbucks. He said, "What's your coffee of choice, Russ?"
Anything black, not picky.
Rustin drinks a lot of coffee, a whole lot of coffee.
15 to 16 cups a day.
I loved it last Saturday. We went and watched Rustin's daughter plays in the YMCA basketball league. Rustin's the coach of that team, and we went and watched the game. And at one point, I turned around and I told my wife, Ginger, I was laughing because he was standing over on the sideline coaching with a travel mug of coffee in his hand. I loved it. It was great.
It's the Mike Leach coaching philosophy. If you ever saw him when he was at Texas Tech, he used to coach with coffee in his hand all the time.
There you go. I like it. Shout out to my 10-year-old basketball team in the YMCA. We won tonight. Moved to 7-1 on the year. I was proud of them. They played well. Let's see. Tyler said, "Oh, I already put that one up there." Braden said, "Sadly, basketball couldn't get it done, but how about them baseballs?" Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute too. Elijah said, "Okay, now this is a legitimate question."
Well, no, so he didn't. He took what he was given. So if you watch that set, if you watch what was in there, they intentionally subbed Tyreek Key in on the previous free throw, and they went 5 wide, and Santi is spotted up to Zakai's left, and Tyreek was spotted up to Zakai's right. And that's an intentional set. They pulled everybody away from the basket, and Zakai's read is attack the defender. If he backs off of you, you have to shoot it. If you can beat him off the dribble, one side or the other, when his guy comes to help, you kick to that shooter for a 3. So it was an intentional set. Kudos to A&M. The defender backed off and forced him to take the shot. And I'll say this. It's Rick Barnes showing confidence in Zakai. He's saying it's your game to win or lose. It takes a lot of confidence in a kid to run that in that situation.
And you'll notice that Santi was on that side of the court in the corner. And so, the thought there is if Zakai drives, Santi's man comes off to help. He kicks it to Santi for an open 3. But like Rustin said, his guy backed off, and so he took what was given to him. I did think it was interesting that the inbounds play under the goal after the out of bounds call got reversed. I did think it was interesting that, they ran the play for Zakai.
Yeah.
And they had Santi on the opposite wing setting up for a 3 if somebody, came to help, a little kick out 3 or something.
Yep.
But that was real, and nobody expected that. And I guess that's why they did it.
And also keep in mind, Santi didn't practice yesterday because he was dog sick. And as of this morning, they weren't sure if he was playing tonight. So, the amount of minutes he played, he was drained. They were probably concerned that he didn't have any legs left, and if he had to force a shot, he couldn't get his legs under him. So they went with the healthy guy.
Tyler said, "Not a good offensive philosophy to shoot 33s a game. Not if you're missing them. Not if you're missing them. If you're Lipscomb University and that's like how you play and you hit 30 something a game, then yeah, sure. But not if you're not making them."
Windshield wiper offense, just going back and forth, back and forth.
That's Elijah's comment about Sonny, that he didn't look healthy. Zach said, "Maybe we should take a play from Tony Vitello. He shaved his beard and the baseball team did nothing but win." or did you?
Well, they're 1-0.
Zach's agreeing with Rustin. He can drink coffee at 12 in the morning. He's ready to roll. Zach brings his A game all the time. I love it. He's the man. Oh, I appreciate that, Zach. Hey, we love it when you come on screen, man. The only reason I'm not doing it tonight is because it's so late, and we got Rustin's in the Starbucks in Huntsville, Alabama.
About to drive to Atlanta.
Yeah. Braden said it honestly feels like Sonny and Zakai have been carrying our offense lately, even our defense. Oh, no doubt, 100%.
That's because they are.
Yeah, I mean they are.
There's no one else.
Man, and that was another thing tonight. Like, okay, with 30, we got the ball back down 3 with 46.6 seconds left. I looked at my son and I said, they need to shoot the ball within 16 seconds so they can go 2 for 1. You drive to the lane, you hopefully get a bucket, and you're only down 1, and you're going to get the ball back no matter what because the shot clock will be in your favor. And then Kamwa takes a pull-up 3 with 30.6 seconds left. The only reason I can figure he took that is because they had talked about it in the timeout in the huddle, take a shot before 30 seconds. I don't think that's the shot they wanted in that situation, quite honestly. I was going, what are you doing? Now, it almost went in, and they ended up getting the ball back after that out-of-bounds reverse call. But that was interesting for sure. He said, Tyler said, Sonny hasn't looked healthy in a month. He's gotten through it. Oh, no doubt, for sure.
He's been injured for over a month, and today he was playing with the injury plus sickness. So he's battling.
Yep. Zach said the baseball's been gone 2-0. That's right. They're on a 2-game winning streak now. That's right.
Did he shave it Sunday?
I don't know.
I think Zach was saying he's 2-0 since he shaved the beard. I thought he had it Sunday.
I don't know. We're not superstitious.
Weird.
We're just a little suspicious.
It's like it takes a second. Like when you get so used to seeing him with that beard and now without it, like you're like, who is that guy? I'm sure all the women of Vol Twitter are really upset.
Braden said, anyone else ready for football? Hey, absolutely. Our ratings go up in football. We get a lot of people love them some SEC football. Hey, speaking of that, Cole Kubelik's coming on the show tomorrow. That's going to be awesome. I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit too. Okay, Elijah.
We need that win.
We need that win.
No one left.
For those listening to the audio podcast, Elijah said, honestly, just let the bench play against South Carolina and let all the injured players rest. So here's the thing. They got to have that win bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll see Josiah or Julian. I have no insider knowledge about that. I'm just basing it off the fact that they hadn't played in 3 games and they're not even dressing out.
Here's what's bizarre about that. Julian went through shoot around with the team today. There's video footage of him going through shoot around.
I didn't know that.
Like, what in the world is going on?
That's a good question. So I would venture to guess that those 2 guys would not be available against South Carolina since they hadn't been available the past couple games. They need that win bad. Like, they got to have it. Speaking of the BaseVols, though, so baseball team played at Alabama A&M today. Zach said, it's not your fault, Zach. Like you said, it's Tennessee's fault. It is not your fault. They need your same mentality is what they need. That's what they need. But baseball team, let's move on to the baseball. Let's talk about something fun. The baseball team, they have hey, eating my crow with hot sauce. Just join us. I understand the ills, but I'm still disappointed. Our offense looks like a wreck gym pickup. Like the game that played at the YMCA after us tonight.
No, it really does at times. I mean, when we're running that windshield wiper offense, just going back and forth across the floor, there were times tonight I was pulling my hair out. I was like, why is no one setting any kind of a screen to get someone moving toward the basket? It's infuriating.
Well, and so I'll say this as well. There was 12 minutes and some change left in the game. They subbed in Tyreek Key. They start running the 3-man weave up at the top of the key and everything. No pun intended with Tyreek there, but
right.
And there was one moment, like Tyreek wasn't even looking to shoot when he was running the weave. Yep. That killed me because there was one moment when he was wide open. I mean, like no one was within 8 feet of him. And instead of taking the open shot, he drove in towards the free throw line. Guy came up to guard him, and he picked his dribble up and then looked for a pass. I mean, like that. If you're trying to have some motion to get somebody open, when he gets open, he has to take the shot. I mean, that's what he was brought here to do. This is Braden. He said he switched over to Vols. Braden has he's starting a YouTube channel about Vol stuff, so go check him out. Subscribe to him. We support each other here on the Vol Bros. We're a place for everybody. Let's see here. We eat my crow with hot sauce. That's just a great name. It's hard to say all of it, but it's a great name. We need to transition. We need transition and drives to the basket. Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. Look what happened at the end of the game. Zakai drove, got a layup.
Bare minimum. And I know why they're not looking for transition baskets. They're trying to slow the game down and eat clock because they don't have the legs to make it 40 minutes and they don't have the depth to put anybody else out there. But at some point they're going to have to start looking to penetrate off transition and try to create some points because they're going to have to steal points any way they can get them until Josiah and Julian get back.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Vols Unlimited, as Braden said, basketball's got to pick it up or March is going to be very rough. Not to mention the SEC tournament. Yeah, no doubt. Well, I mean, so that's what's interesting about tonight. When you look at during the game and you look at the little score at the bottom of it, you see the record, and the overall record was exactly the same. But the SEC record was 12-2 for Texas A&M. Very different for the Vols.
But here's what's interesting. Right now, A&M's predicted to be like a 7 or an 8 seed, and Tennessee's still a 3 or a 4 because it's strength of schedule. A&M has the same overall record because their strength of schedule is just awful.
And that's what's crazy about Tennessee. You know, we beat Kansas, we beat Alabama, we beat Texas, and then we just don't show up offensively for a game or two. It's bizarre. Tyler said Tyreek couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat ride. We need the Tyreek key that was. What game was it that he showed up and hit he had 20 points in the second half? What game was that? I can't remember. They lost. I remember that, but
I don't know. I've blocked everything out since the last 6 games.
And Zach said, don't forget about Gonzaga. Yeah, he had 29 or 28 against them. It was Missouri. That's who it was. That's right. Missouri who scored them in again.
You know, Tyreek is a better player when Josiah or Julian are out there. Tyreek needs to be able to spot up, be stationary, and be a catch and shoot guy. That's when he's most effective, and that only happens when people are driving and kicking. And right now, the only 2 guys we have that can drive and kick are sitting on the bench in street clothes.
Yep. Crow said, thank you. He earned that name. Thanks to Georgia football. Oh, man, I'm sorry about that. I hope I didn't open up any wounds there or anything. He said he thinks the team's nervous to get chewed out by Barnes. Well, if they're nervous about that, then they need to not be nervous about that because they're on the wrong roster. Basketball. Yeah, they need to do that for sure. I love that name. That's great. Well, let's transition to baseball because that's something fun. They won. Baseball is played against Alabama A&M today. They also have another game tomorrow against Alabama A&M at 4:30 in Lindsey Nelson Stadium. So they play today. They play tomorrow. They've currently won 2, so they're back to 500 on the year at 2-2. 10-0 win. I mean, that's a good win. I saw a video clip. He said he's proud of that. I love it, man. That's awesome. I saw a video clip of Blake Burke hitting a 3-run home run. He killed the ball. It was to left center field. He just killed it. And that's a good sign. Yeah, Zach said Burke's killing the ball right now. Absolutely. You know, if he gets the bat going like we saw last year, I mean, my goodness, last year it became odd when he came up to pinch hit and he didn't hit a home run last year. That's crazy, really. So the fact that he's getting the bat going now, that's 2 home runs in 2 games or 3 games?
Yep, 2 games.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because he hit one against San Diego, right?
Yep.
Okay. If he's getting the bat going like that, that's a good sign. Hopefully they can get Maui Ahuna cleared. That's just bizarre. That is bizarre.
So Brian Rice kind of let it be known what was going on there, and essentially, and he couldn't give all the details because there's some legal issues, but essentially Kansas didn't process paperwork they were supposed to. Tennessee's been hounding them to do it. It kind of sounded like they were intentionally dragging their feet, but then because there was some deadline because they didn't meet it, now Tennessee has to do some other things to get him eligible. Brian Rice kind of made it sound like it might take a week or two. So, but I will say this: Saturday night we talked about how this team doesn't have a ton of offensive depth, but the offensive starters they have are really good. Griffin Merritt did not play Friday or Saturday. Griffin Merritt was in the lineup Sunday and again today hitting cleanup right behind Blake Burke. This offense is really good when Maui Ahuna and Griffin Merritt are in the lineup. It's pretty good just by the addition of Griffin Merritt. You can't pitch around Blake Burke because you've got an All-American right behind him in the 4-hole who can hit any ball out of the yard to any field. So he's got some firepower to him, and he makes everybody around him better.
Yeah, and I think it was Griffin Merritt who got hit in the head with a pitch the other day. Holy cow, that was terrifying. I mean, and he stayed in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, holy cow!
Stop the bleeding and jog to first.
That was man. That there are some moments that you're like, oh my goodness, that was an oh my goodness moment. That was shocking.
My kind of guy. Just clot the blood and jog down.
Tyler makes a fantastic point. He said, their pitching is elite. There is not a better pitching staff in the entire country than what is at Tennessee. And that's not orange colored glasses or anything. That's not me being a homer about Tennessee. No, that's just objective reality. Like there is no other pitching staff in the country that's anywhere near as deep and as good as Tennessee's.
And it was exemplified today. They kind of went a bullpen by committee day today and threw a bunch of guys, and they were all dominant, and it was nobody with a name attached to them. It was their extra guys. It was the bottom end of the bullpen, and those dudes were dealing. I mean, it's
0 runs.
It is unbelievable. Well, not only that, like if you saw much of the game, A&M wasn't really even taking good swings. Like they looked lost most of their at bats.
I was going to look and see if I could find. No, I can't find it real quick. I'd have to look it up somewhere else. I was wondering if I could see the box score, how many hits were allowed today by Tennessee's pitching staff.
So the other thing I think we have going for us, and it's probably a positive that this issue with Maui happened now. Our next 13 games are wins. By the time we get to March, so we're 2-2 right now. Our next decent game is March 14th against Lipscomb. When we get to that game, we'll be 15-2. Our next 13 games, there's nobody in that list that can win.
Eating my crow with hot sauce made a pretty good comment. We were talking about the fact that Kansas hadn't filled out paperwork that they were supposed to fill out for Maui Ahuna. And Eating My Crow said, imagine that another school didn't do what they were supposed to do to have one of our players cleared. That sounds familiar. It sure does. Zach said, Tony V also said in his interview that Maui had some family issues as well.
Well, that was Tony being veiled. What that really comes down to is there was a secondary violation at Kansas that involved one of his family members, and Kansas didn't file the paperwork properly. So now his family is having to refile it to force Kansas to do it right. So that was Tony tactfully saying that his family was having to deal with something on his behalf. So A&M had 3 hits today.
That's incredible. Just as a reminder, these are college baseball players
with metal bats.
With metal bats, exactly. Here's the deal: it doesn't matter what level of college baseball you're playing. If you are playing college baseball, then you were a stud in high school. Like you were that dude in high school. It doesn't matter what level you're playing in college. The fact that these guys have metal bats and they only get 3 hits out of 27 outs, that's incredible. Like that's
and actually, they didn't even get 27 outs. It was a run rule after the 8th. They got 24 outs, and 13 of those were strikeouts.
Yeah. And that's not even the best pitchers for Tennessee throwing.
It was a bunch of bullpen guys.
Let's see. Zach made a really good point. I'm glad he said this. He said Jared Dickey's starting to find a swing as well. When he hit that triple the other night, man, that thrilled me because for 2 reasons. Number one, as a leadoff hitter last year, he was such a tough out. And to see him swinging the bat and getting the bat on the ball now, and even more so, running to third, like rounding first, rounding second, making it to third on an ankle that he could barely move last year. That was encouraging. That was very encouraging.
He went 3 for 3 with 3 runs scored today. And then in the 8th, they took him out and put in true freshman Ryan Miller, which is one of the freshman outfielders that they're really high on. And in Miller's first college at bat, he hit a 2-run bomb to end the game.
That's what I'm talking about. Vols Unlimited. That's Brayden. He said we gave up 3 hits. Yep. He also said when we were talking about Merritt, he said Merritt took one to the face and absolutely ate it. Toughness to the max.
Here's who we threw today: Hollis Fanning, Jake Fitzgibbons, AJ Russell, which is a true freshman, and Jacob Bimby.
Not living room names.
And they dominated. 13 strikeouts in 8 innings.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And that's just, I mean, that is kicking butt and taking names right there. Zach was saying the next 13 games are all home games, he believes. Lindsey Nelson will be rocking.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Tyler said Tony V has a baseball program going in the right direction. Need to keep. Oh my goodness, yes, absolutely. And I think he wants to stay around too. I think he loves Knoxville.
Next 14 games are all at home.
You know, I think that Tony V, he enjoys Knoxville. He appreciates the fact that Danny White is willing to invest in the facilities in Knoxville. So I think he's going to be there for a good while, and that's a great thing. And hopefully he can keep Frank Anderson for a long time too, because that is why our pitching staff is what it is, because those guys want to come play for Frank Anderson.
Yeah, Frank's not going anywhere. Frank's on his last stint. This will be it for him. When he's done at Tennessee, he'll retire. You know, a lot of people don't know this. He's close friends with Rick Barnes. They love hanging out together. You know, they got to be friends when they were both at Texas, and Frank loves Knoxville. This will be his last coaching stint.
Well, he is certainly a valuable commodity to that pitching staff. I can tell you that much.
Yep.
Let's see. We just had another comment come through. Give Heupel and Tony V their money now and Rick Barnes because we know he'll get back together soon. Yep. Question for you: who wins the Natty first? Ooh, good question.
Tony Vitello. Probably this year.
I agree.
Pitching wins championships, and nobody's got a pitching staff like Tennessee's.
Yep. Because that's the thing. I mean, listen, I mean, how many total runs have they given up in 4 games? Like probably 7, I think, at this point.
Yes, 7 runs in 4 games.
I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Yep.
And
3 of those were unearned. They had 3 errors against Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
So they've only given up 4 earned runs in 4 games.
I mean, that's the thing. When you look at that box score for Grand Canyon, we had way more hits than they did, but they had 0 errors, and we had 3. There's the ball game right there. It's a one-run game. There's
we
the ball
literally
game.
gave them that game.
Yep.
You know, we had a botched bunt coverage, just a basic bunt coverage, and Charlie Taylor threw it into right field, cost us 2 runs. That was the game right there.
So I mean, I agree. I think Tony Vitello wins the championship first. I don't have enough faith in the basketball team to not have, in order to win the NCAA tournament, you have to win. Let's see, is it 6 games or 8 games in a row? You get the round of 64, the round of 32, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, and champ. So 6 games. You have to win 6 games in a row. I at this point, I don't trust Tennessee's offense enough to think that they're going to go 6 games without a hiccup. So it's hard for me to say Rick Barnes, especially when legit the Vols baseball team could win it this year. Heupel, man, it's just so hard to win a football championship. It's just so hard. You got to have. I mean, think about the '98 season, for example. Think about all the things that went Tennessee's way in the '98 season. Even at the very beginning of the year, they barely beat Donovan McNabb's Syracuse team. Then you had the Sterner stumble and fumble. If that doesn't happen, they don't make it to the championship game probably. I mean, just so many things had to happen just perfectly for them to be in the championship game. And that's just getting harder and harder, especially now that there's another extra game in there with the playoff. So it's hard to say football because it's just so difficult to win a football championship. But with the pitching staff that Tennessee has this year, that's why I would agree with Rustin. It's got to be Tony Vitello. That's a really that's a fun question though. Let's see. Eating My Crow said we're building a great coaching for any. Oh, no doubt, for sure. Totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. Vols Unlimited says a really good question about the Barnes or Heupel or Vitello. Tyler said Vitello is an elite recruiter. He knows and understands how to set up lineups, and he understands situational baseball. He's just a great coach. I totally agree.
And he's also known around the country as an incredible evaluator of talent. That's why he was on round 1 of the Major League Baseball draft on MLB.com's live coverage last summer, because around the country, everybody respects his ability to evaluate players.
Zach gave his answer to the question. He said he thinks Tony V will, then Heupel, then Tony V again, and then Rick Barnes. I love it. Ian Micro said, can we do away with the fur coat and replace it with a musket?
So what I hate is this new NCAA rule that they can't bring props onto the field. But did you see what Virginia Tech did
Yes, I did.
to combat it? For those of you who don't know, when Virginia Tech hits a home run, they used to have a railroad like sledgehammer. And the guy who hits the home run would get to run into the middle of a huddle and slam the sledgehammer onto the ground, and everybody would jump back like he had just made the earth move. So they're not allowed to bring props on the field. So now they're just doing it and using their bats. And so whoever hits the home run picks his bat up, runs over to the dugout, jumps up, acts like he's pounding the railroad spike with the bat, and everybody bumps backwards. I hope more teams come up with stuff like that to make the NCAA look foolish for these ridiculous rules that have absolutely no purpose at all. If you saw the list, well, Maui Ahuna, for example. So we have guys who aren't eligible all over the country because paperwork hasn't been processed, things haven't been done, but the NCAA wants to waste time having meetings about how can we get rid of props on fields. Seems like a valuable use of time. Big fan of the NCAA over here.
Vols Unlimited said that the daddy hat has to stay, though. That hat's pretty good. Zach said, I don't think they'll bring a musket to a stadium. Yeah. That may
Pretty
not...
sure on a college campus that's frowned on.
Micro said, I hate power trips by the NCAA. Yep. No doubt.
Yep.
So let's talk about tomorrow for a second. This will be how we end our show tonight. Let's see. Tomorrow at 3:00 p.m. Eastern time, Cole Kubelik joined the Vol Bros, and I'm still in shock, man, that we had Cole to agree. That was awesome. That was so awesome how that worked
There was
out.
no kidnapping involved. There was no hostage situation.
Exactly. Isn't that amazing? It's so cool. He was super kind, very generous with his time, very gracious, super responsive. Like we messaged him and I explained, what I listened to his podcast and I messaged him explaining what I'd like to do. I gave him some analytics and some data, and less than just probably 4 or 5 minutes later, he emailed me back, said, or messaged me back on Twitter and said, "Let's do it." And we set it up, and man, he was the man. And I'm going to be honest with you, his podcast, and you can find it at youtube.com at CubeShow61. Y'all, it's incredible. Like it's really, yeah. Go ahead, Rustin. Sorry,
I was just saying it's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, and he's an Auburn guy. He played at Auburn, but there is no like Auburn bias in his podcast at all. He barely talks about him. Like he just talks about what's happening in the SEC right now, and so it's so in depth. Like that's the thing. Like they're typically about 30 to 37 minutes long each episode, and man, it's just like he dives in and he just goes, and it's fascinating to listen to his perspective. He's so in depth, and it doesn't matter what your favorite team is, he talks about them. I mean, he covers every team. He went on his last one that he did this Sunday. He went player or team by team in the SEC and talked about their offense, every single team. It was fascinating. And so when he was on our show, and you'll get to see this tomorrow, it was a fantastic interview. I mean, he's so knowledgeable. He has a great perspective on SEC athletics and football in particular. I think you're going to love it. So keep your eyes peeled for tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern. That'll be right here on this channel. You can also follow Cole at Cole Kubelik on Twitter and Instagram. Also on Twitter and Instagram at Cube Show is the handles for his podcast. It was fantastic. It was really good. We've had some comments come in. I'm gonna start up here at the top. Let's see. So Zach said, "Did you get him to wear a Tennessee hat?"
Nope.
No, I couldn't pull that one off. Eating my crow with hot sauce said he's level and plain.
On his next one, he's replaces it with
Plum. Yeah, he's very level-headed. I totally agree.
Yep.
He's very unbiased in what he does. He said he has a great sports IQ. Totally agree. Zach, I appreciate that. Zach's going to say he's going to watch it after work. Vols Unlimited said he's excited to see the new renovations for Lindsey Nelson. Oh yeah, I think it's like going to be a multi-year process, but over the next several years, they'll see a lot of changes happening.
Yeah, $60 million worth of changes.
Yeah. Tyler said, "Why is it that Tennessee has eligibility? Man, that's hard to say. Issues in every sport."
It's not just Tennessee, and Brian Rice talked about this a little bit yesterday as well. And if you all ever want to hear a really intelligent commentary on just athletics in general, the Eric Ainge Show is very good. Brian Rice has just incredible depth of knowledge, and does an excellent job talking about these things. Tennessee has eligibility issues every year because every university has eligibility issues every year. And honestly, that's where my frustration is with the NCAA. This isn't common to UT. This is common to everybody. And we're talking about a $1 billion organization that isn't willing to take the time or spend the money to make sure that these kids get eligible in time for their season to start. It's just mind-blowing to me. They have more money than they know what to do with. There's no reason for this. And it is across the board rampant in every sport, every year, every university. I don't understand how it's even a possibility.
Ian My Crow said he's looking forward to the show with Cole, and he said, "Good night and go Big Orange." Hey, absolutely, man. We appreciate it very much. Let's see. Any other comments that have come through? People are talking about they got eligibility issues because people hate the orange. They hate us because they ain't us or can't be us. There's another one that came through. Good times, man. So Everybody, please be sure to check that out. It was fascinating. We talked about SEC expansion with Cole. The main gist of the show is what are some things that are going to happen inevitably that nobody's talking about, and it was fascinating to hear his perspective on things that will happen that nobody's really talking about right now. It was fascinating. It was really, really good. I appreciate that, Tyler. Thank you so much, man. He said the first time watching your show tonight, y'all have gained a fan. Hey, we love that, man. Thank you so much. We try to be as fair and not orange colored glasses as we can, but still loving the orange at the same time. Zach said, I appreciate everything you guys do. Absolutely. Hey, man, we appreciate you, Zach. We love having Zach on the show with us. I did. So he had mentioned the moonshine in his previous comment, and I forgot to put it. I didn't put it on the screen. So, there you go. There you go. If YouTube did let it come through, and Zach said, "Good night, Evan and Rustin." Hey, good night, man. We hope you have a good evening.
I got to drive to Atlanta.
Yeah. Vols Limit said the show's great. I've been telling all my friends, check y'all out. Go Vol. Hey, we appreciate that, Braden. Thank you so much, man. Well, we hope everybody has a wonderful evening. BaseVols in action again tomorrow at 4:30. So, man, your tomorrow afternoon could be a really great afternoon. 3 o'clock rolls around. You take about 23 minutes to watch the episode with Cole Kubelik. Finish just in time to see some BaseVols playing and Lindsey Nelson. That's a good afternoon there. That's all I got to say about that. So we hope everybody has a great evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Rustin, you're the man for joining us from the Starbucks en route in business trip. That's dedication. I love it. I hope everybody has a great evening. Go Vols.